He was one of the most beloved entertainers in the world. He made us laugh. He made us cry. He made us think. He made us feel. And yet in 2014, Robin Williams took his own life. Why? He had everything. He had fame. He had money. He had awards. He had admiration. Isn't that what we're all chasing? I mean, you see, today I want to challenge one of the most dangerous beliefs in modern culture. You know, that belief is that success will solve everything. See, sometimes success isn't the finish line. Most times, it's a trap. You know, we grow up hearing a very specific formula. You know, go to school, get a good job, make money, be known, achieve goals. Those are the beliefs, and those are the, you know, that's the formula that we grew up on. And if you check all those boxes, you'll be happy, right? We'll see. How many people do you know who've done everything right and still feel wrong inside? I'm sure you know one or two people that, you know, they've done everything and they seem like they have everything, but deep down, they aren't really happy. The truth of the matter is that success doesn't automatically bring fulfillment. In fact, the higher you climb, the more painful it can feel. Especially when your ladder is on the wrong wall. When you've climbed to the top, to the zenith of that wall, and you realize that's not the wall. And then you face the arduous task of climbing down that wall, and then climbing up another wall, the right wall now. Arduous as it may seem, this is the right thing to do. But like, you know, and I'm not making fun of anybody, but like Robin Williams, he felt he had climbed up too far and he couldn't climb down anymore. He jumped off totally. He took his own life. Now, Robin's story is stunning, not because of his fall, but because of how brightly he shone. You know, he was born in Chicago, raised in a wealthy home even. You know, he wasn't the class clown, you know, like, you know, the idiot. He was actually shy, quiet, a little bit isolated. I mean, like many comedians that we know, you know, maybe when they were in class, they discovered themselves when they were in school and they were in class, they were the class clowns, you know, not just the idiot, but the person who made them laugh, and, you know, the idiot, so to speak, you know, because, I mean, comedy probably wasn't making you any money when you were, you know, when you were in school, you know, that kind of thing. They'll take you as the idiot, the unserious one, you know, but the one that, you know, made everybody laugh. But he wasn't that kind of person. He was quiet, he was a little bit isolated. You know, but when he discovered theater, he became alive. He trained in Juilliard, you know, alongside the very best. You know, he broke through, you know, in a play called Mork and Mindy, you know, according to his research, the research I made on him. I mean, not like I've been following him for that long, but that's his story. You know, he became a global icon through a more known movie, A Dead Poet Society. Movies like Aladdin, Mrs. Doubtfire, you know, Good Will Hunting. Those are more of his movies that people like me got to see. No, he had money, he had awards, he had the crowds. But Robin also had addiction. He was depressed and he had a lot of self-doubt. In private, he questioned whether people really loved him, or it was just the characters that he played. He feared the silence when everybody was gone and all of that. The silence was scary. He hardly wanted to be alone. He said something once. He said, I think the saddest people always try their hardest to make people happy. So you'll be amazed that all these people, global icons that you see, probably in comedy, movies, entertainment industry and all of that make all of us happy. We listen to their music, we watch their movies and all of that. Some of them are living quiet lives of desperation, sadness, and depression. Like you will never know what they're going through. And all they try to do is just make us happy. And what he was describing wasn't just depression, really. It was the emptiness of a life that everybody celebrates. But sometimes, I won't say everybody in entertainment or everybody in the limelight is expressing this. No, but sometimes that doesn't truly reflect your soul, your deepest yearning. Robin was giving and giving and giving, but he was hungry. He wasn't being fed. He wasn't physically hungry, but his soul was hungry because he wasn't feeding his soul. He was feeding y'all. He was feeding everybody else. Now, let's talk about how to recognize the success trap, before it swallows you up. Now, you might be in a trap. 1, if you've achieved your goals, but you feel numb and not excited. You might be in a trap if you're always on, performing even when no one is watching. You avoid stillness because it's uncomfortable to face your truth. You always want people around. You want the buzz. You want the noise. You want everything. You want social media. You want, all the applause. You want the comments. You want the likes. You want you want everything. But on your own, quiet is the silence is very loud. Because in that silence is the truth of who you really are. Not that one that everybody knows and loves and celebrates and has made you all that money and brought you all that recognition. But the silent one, when you're silent and you're by yourself, that's the real you. You're avoiding it with everything in your life. You're avoiding it. All right. You chase external validation more than internal peace. You might be in a trap. Your identity is based on achievement, not authenticity. You are in a trap. Success is a beautiful thing, don't get me wrong, but only when it reflects the truth of who you are. And when it doesn't, it becomes a golden prison. See what I did there? It's a prison. It's golden too. Prison nonetheless. Robin's fame was real, but so was his loneliness. He was surrounded by people, but he was starving for connection. He lived for the applause until the silence between the claps became unbearable for him, and he had to exit the world. May his soul rest in peace. The deepest pain isn't failure. It's achieving everything you've ever wanted, and then you realize it doesn't even fill the void. The void that comes from not being seen. Am I mixing things up? Okay, that void that comes from not being seen, not by others, but by yourself. Most of us build lives around what will impress others, but what will impress others, But what about what inspires you? What happens when the brand, the title, the car, the lifestyle all feel hollow? That's why self-alignment matters more than surface success. Fulfillment doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment. This is what alignment means. You do work that feeds your soul, not just your wallet. You spend time with people who see the real you, not the version that you perform, not your performance you, the real you. You make decisions based on values and not pressure. Values. So to exit that trap and to be aligned, to have aligned success, ask yourself 3 major questions. And the very first one is, what version of success was handed to me? And is it even mine? What part of myself have I silenced to be successful? And what would a successful life look like if I was being fully honest with myself? Your soul always knows, and it's been whispering to you all this while. Maybe now is the time to listen. Robin Williams isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a wake-up call, and also a mirror for you. You're not here to perform. You're here to live deeply. And that kind of success, that's magic. If any part of this story or this episode resonated with you, take this moment. Note to yourself, not to judge yourself. Realign yourself. You don't need to tear everything down, but begin by telling yourself the truth. Comment below, I choose aligned success. I choose aligned success. Like, share, subscribe, comment. This is Profit Magix, where effort, self-growth is like magic. See you in the next one.